Okay, so in my video where I talked about the best designed characters in hero shooters, I asked if you'd want a sequel to this type of thing, but this time about the worst designed characters in hero shooters. And I got a lot of comments saying, yeah, let's do it. So today, let's talk about the worst designed characters in hero shooters. This list, in my opinion, is going to be a lot harder to make because a lot of the games that I'm going to be covering, I really enjoy. And I think the developers put a lot of work into most of the characters. But there does have to be a worst designed character in every one of these games. Apologies in advance for all the fans of the following characters that I'm going to be discussing. Please don't take it personally, it is just my opinion. So without further ado, here are the worst designed characters in every single hero shooter. So Overwatch, in my opinion, has some of the best designed characters ever made, and they rarely, if ever, miss. However, there are some honorable mentions. I think the introduction of Brigitte almost single-handedly killed this game really early on, with the GOATS meta wreaking havoc for so many years. We all like to pin it on Brigitte, but it might have been more of a core issue with the way tanks were designed. But she's since been reworked and isn't as annoying to deal with. And another honorable mention goes to both Sigma and Orisa. Sigma, I actually think is a pretty cool design. I mean, who doesn't like them toes? Put them away, Sigma, chill. And Orisa is okay from a design perspective, but they both introduced more shielding into a game that already had Reinhardt and Winston. And I think adding more shields to this game is what ultimately killed Overwatch. The double shield meta was so bad, to the point where they finally just gave up and made it 5v5. So you can thank either one of them, but I think Orisa has since been saved with a great rework, and Sigma, he's fine. No, the actual worst design character in Overwatch represents everything wrong with Overwatch 2, and that character is Kiriko. And I know there's a lot of Kiriko fans, so please let me explain. Overwatch 2 was supposed to be a sequel that expanded upon the lore and gave us a story mode. But instead, it just became a way for Overwatch to switch to the Fortnite model of monetization with very expensive overpriced skins. And now we don't even have a story mode. But the first hero that we got in the first season of Overwatch 2 was Kiriko. And Kiriko was pretty cool on drop. She just looked really cool. But then you kind of dig deeper and you see the problems with Kiriko and what she represented in Overwatch 2. First, let's talk about her lore. Apparently, she grew up with Genji and Hanzo, although she's way younger than Genji and Hanzo, which tells us that they don't care about the lore anymore. Like, you think most people wouldn't notice this really outrageously big plot hole in the lore? Come on, Blizzard. Plot holes aside, the way that Genji and Hanzo's ultimates kind of worked was sort of magical, but they tried their best to explain it away as being like hard light, just being not magic. Like, there is no magic in Overwatch. Everything is grounded in scientific ideas, which explains Symmetra and other characters that have similar hard light features. But Kiriko's explanation, she's not a scientist. She doesn't have like a ton of money. She just straight up has magic. So from a lore perspective, magic is now just a thing because of Kiriko. But now let's talk about her actual gameplay. From the get-go, she was overtuned. She can kill people like a DPS. She had insane mobility to get away, and she has the Suzu, which just cleanses every single thing a character can do. All of your effort can be canceled by a simple click of a button, which just made her super overtuned from the get-go. So they knew this character was going to be overpowered and close to a must pick. So what did they do? They put her behind a paywall in the battle pass. So you had to spend some money or a lot of your time to actually get to play Kiriko. Eventually, Overwatch learned from this mistake and did not put these characters behind paywalls anymore, but I think the damage was already done. She just represents Blizzard's corporate greed so perfectly. I mean, she already has like the most legendary skins in this game, and even already got a mythic skin. She's a newer character. What? I just think that in order for them to sell Overwatch 2 faster, they kind of rushed out this character that doesn't make sense in the lore, is overpowered, and honestly, mid-design at best. Like, if you're a fan of Kiriko, you're basic. Let's be real. Apex Legends has always had an issue when it comes to balancing scan legends. However, the best designed character, in my opinion, is a scan legend, Bloodhound. And I think it's what makes this legend that I'm about to discuss a little bit more frustrating, and I'll explain why. But first, an honorable mention has to go to Ballistic. His trailers made him seem so badass, but then his actual gameplay just fell super flat. His entire kit just does not feel cohesive at all. But he is not our number one pick, because our pick for the worst legend in Apex Legends has got to go to Seer. Let me explain. Seer actually had a really interesting trailer where it seems that the destruction of a moon is tied to his birth. Cool. And he did seem very mysterious on release. But when we finally realized how he was going to play, we realized he was just going to be another scan character. And initially, Seer was pretty underwhelming. On launch, people were like, why would I play Seer when Bloodhound's right there? Seer was essentially Bloodhound from Wish.com. But eventually, people realized Seer's actually kind of broken. And eventually, we were ending up in a Seer meta. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was not fun seeing all these like laser scan things everywhere. You can get scanned through catalyst walls and Bangalore smokes. You'd be reviving your teammate and you're like, oh, thank God, we're going to recover. And then, oh no. And now you can't revive them anymore. So it's just over. Seer on drop had the first ever real stun mechanic in this game. And it totally sucked. Even after reworking Seer, Seer remained very dominant. And we were stuck with his ultimate just scanning everybody and everyone all the time for like a year straight. And I don't just dislike him because he was so meta dominant. I just think it's a little bit frustrating when a character comes out later that is essentially a character that's already exists, like Bloodhound, but better. And now they're in this never-ending cycle where if Seer gets nerfed to the ground, then Bloodhound gets better. If Bloodhound gets nerfed to the ground, then Seer gets better. It sucks that we have two very strong scan legends, when in reality, if we just had one, balancing around the one scanner would be a lot easier than having to balance between two. And then let's talk about his actual like character design. I think his glowing eyes is a nice touch. And although I like Cypher's really cool hat, I kind of never really liked Seer's hat. It was kind of goofy. It didn't really make sense why he would be rocking this huge hat if he's like trying to be a little more stealthy and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's a really goofy looking hat compared to like Cypher's. Imagine me doing the rest of the video like this. Like, it's goofy as hell. I actually think that the majority of the Valorant agents are very well designed. So this was genuinely hard for me to pick. An honorable mention has to go to Fade. I don't play that much Valorant, but when I do, sometimes it's very difficult for me to distinguish between a Fade and Irena. They kind of look a little too similar in my opinion, and I kind of wish they didn't. Give her a hat or something? Like, I don't know. The actual worst design legend in Valorant probably have to be Brimstone. According to the lore, Brimstone is the leader of Valorant or something like that. And it makes sense. He has like the freaking military leader hat, and he's got the military voice. And in my opinion, it's probably the most uninspired design. Like I said, I don't think these character designs are bad, but if I had to choose one, Brimstone does feel the most basic. But then you also look at his abilities and how they actually all coalesce together, and they kind of don't. So as the leader of Valorant, it would make sense that he has access to like orbital satellites. So if he was like the orbital satellite call down airstrikes type guy the whole way through, I think that'd be kind of tight because his ultimate does that. He has an orbital laser, and then he has the ability to call down smokes as well, but then he just has like Molly. And then a fast shooting thing that like you kind of forget exists. Okay. Like I said, it's not easy for me to choose Brimstone here, but when I was looking at all of these really dope characters, he's just so forgettable. Molly. Okay, so in the last video, I talked about Yamato and their 5-head, so you would think that I would put Yamato as the worst designed character. But no, because gameplay-wise, it's cohesive. Being like essentially a Samurai Genji type character, it makes sense around the character design. If they just shrunk the forehead by like 2 inches, this is actually a solidly designed character. But it does deserve an honorable mention for that forehead alone. No, in actuality, I do think most of the Deadlock characters are pretty fire. They all got their own thing. You got a vampire lady, you got Hellboy, Iceman, and then you got Elvis? Okay, so I know he's not Elvis, but if I had to choose a worst designed character in Deadlock, it'd probably have to go to Shiv. Shiv is the cool, slick back, pompadour dude. And if you just looked at his character, you would have no idea what he does, because it doesn't really make sense what he does. He's armed with a shotgun type weapon, but there are cooler characters with better shotguns. But his main actual abilities involves knives, throwing knives, bleeding people out with knives, and his ultimate is about finishing the kill with the knife. That's an assassin, my dude. I understand they wanted to keep it in this Victorian era, but like, why is he the assassin guy? Imagine seeing like a ninja type character in the Deadlock aesthetic. That would be kind of tight. But instead, we're stuck with Austin Butler over here. Like, what? And also, is he like a monkey because he like rides the zip lines with his feet? Like, what does that have to do? Like, who is this guy? Why is he so good with his legs? It's just not obvious what he is supposed to be. Yeah, sorry about that shit, fans. I don't think he's that good of a design. So while we're on the topic of Deadlock, I want to quickly announce that I will be casting a really awesome Deadlock tournament that's going to be hosted by Space Station Gaming on their Twitch on December 7th and 8th. We invited 4 team captains to make any team that they wanted, but there is also an open bracket that anybody, including you, can sign up for by the 29th. On the 30th, everybody in the open bracket will be fighting for the top 4 spots, and the top 4 teams will move on to the final day on the 7th and the 8th. where I will be casting, and you could win a good amount of money if you do well. I'm very excited to cast a new game like this, so if you could tune in during the actual broadcast, that would be awesome. But even if you can't make it, I will be turning the entire tournament into a video of sorts, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, back to the bad designs. In the last video, I said that every character was an honorable mention because they're all so important and so pivotal. Team Fortress 2 was the original class-based shooter, so every single hero shooter then on was inspired by every single character in this game. But I have to choose one. And if I have to choose one, it'd probably be the sniper. Let's be honest, compared to all the other characters who have been so iconic and have led to the creation of other iconic characters, the sniper is just a sniper. Like, he doesn't do anything that unique. He didn't bring much to the table that is that special that other games haven't done before or since. Look, I like the guy. I think he's good. I had to choose one. Please don't kill me, Team Fortress 2 fans, please. I had to choose one. It just made the most sense. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. So Frag Punk was a little bit difficult for me to choose because a lot of the characters are okay. I am going to give an honorable mention to Circuit because they know what they did. Okay, it's actually not that bad of design. Just get her ass out of my face. No, but if I actually had to choose the worst designed character in Frag Punk, it's probably going to be Hollow Point. Hollow Point is the definition of no sauce. Absolutely sauceless. She just got a tight ass yellow outfit, a visor on, and she's the sniper lady. And then on top of that, she also has the ability to shoot like smoke screen things. Why? None of her like outfit makes you feel like she should do that. She has no technology on her body. Like, why would she also have out of nowhere like cool technological walls? Make it make sense. That's all I'm asking when it comes to designing these characters. Just like make it make sense. But also just from a gameplay perspective, giving a character a one-shot sniper every single round is stupid, especially when you have a buy phase where it actually matters which guns you're using because you're only allowed to actually use the sniper a few times at most. So having a character with the sniper on cooldown is bad in your game. Getting one shot by hollow points sucks. Yeah, I just feel like her design doesn't really even showcase that she's supposed to be the sniper chick, except for like the one thing on her eye. Like, I think a better design for like a sniper type character would be to design her like that one lady that won the Olympics for shooting. That looks badass. And that feels like technological. It feels like she would be able to also like, boom, shoot out like a wall like the way she does in this game. As I mentioned in the last video, I don't play that much Paladins. And I'm sorry if I'm always roasting Paladins for the early access of it being very similar to Overwatch, but it was. Fernando was Fire Reinhardt, but at least he was saucy. Barrick is just Torbjorn. It's crazy, they got a dwarf and gave him a turret and they thought we wouldn't notice. But I'll give those characters a pass. Instead, I want to focus on an original character that Paladins made, and apparently when I checked online, a lot of people also agreed kinda sucked. And that character is Vivian. You see, Vivian is just so boring. Paladins has some of the craziest design characters. Like, look at this roster of characters. They look so all over the place. And then you got Vivian. Like, when you look at her, she looks like a rejected character from Borderlands. And then she has this like reflector shield and this ultimate that does all the work for you. So she just feels like an unfun character to play against. Rogue Company. Rogue Company has okay designed characters. Honorable mention has to go to Dallas, single-handedly because he has a Dr. Disrespect skin. Like, what is wrong with this game? The actual worst designed character in Rogue Company, in my opinion, is Seeker. Seeker just has the most punchable face of all time. Take your freaking headphones off, buddy. I'm talking to you. He just looks like he doesn't belong. He just stumbled upon a video game like, oops, I'm in there. What's that? Okay, I'll let them know. Yeah, 2005 called and they want their haircut back. We have so many better bow characters like Hanzo and Sova, even Grey Talon, because they do something a little bit spicy and unique. This guy just copied Sova and Hanzo and didn't even change their answers. It's plagiarism. But yeah, I really don't like Seeker. And he doesn't get any cool points for getting a Rambo skin. Man, Rogue Company did not know how to make good skins. Like... Okay, so in the last video, I just completely forgot to do my Rainbow Six Siege part. I had it written out in my script, and the best design character was gonna be Dokkaebi, because Dokkaebi is so funny to me and just so cool. I love the fact that she hacks phones mid-battle. That's such a crazy mechanic and such a unique design, while also just being ooh, e-girl. Like, I love her for that. But today we're gonna talk about the worst design characters in Rainbow Six Siege, and boy, are there some duds. Rainbow Six Siege did not really know what it was going to become when it initially came out. out. So some of the original characters look very similar to each other. They have since remedied that, and almost every new character looks drastically different. Good job, Rainbow Six, you did something right there. But I do have an honorable mention, and it has to go to Clash. When I did play Rainbow Six Siege pretty heavily, Clash was one of the most banned characters, even in ranked and just for fun, because no one wants to deal with riot shields. And at least Montaigne, who is another riot shield character, feels a little bit more reasonable to deal with, where Clash was just not fun at all to deal with. But from a design perspective, she does look significantly more unique than a lot of these other dudes. So you get the pass, Clash. However, you know who doesn't get the pass? The worst designed Rainbow Six Siege character, Thatcher. And you know what's crazy? That's not Thatcher. This is Thatcher. I bet you a few people were like, yeah, wow, Thatcher does suck, and then didn't realize that I didn't even have Thatcher up there, because that's how similar Thatcher looks to other characters. So just from a design perspective, super ununique and kind of bad. But from a gameplay perspective, there's a reason why Thatcher consistently throughout, even when I was playing to today, is one of the most banned characters in the highest level of competitive play, because Thatcher is annoying to deal with. Thatcher single-handedly counters defender gadgets. Having a character counter all of your defense in one go is just not fun. On top of the fact that that isn't even Thatcher that I'm showing you right now. That's a different character. Dude, it works every time. Marvel Rivals will be out in a month, and I'm pretty excited for almost every single character here, but I will admit that there was a pretty obvious standout dud. Making a game like this is always going to be difficult because canonically, some characters have to be power scaled down to make sense in this world to be able to fight. A perfect example is our honorable mention, Magneto. Magneto is so overpowered, but all he is in this game is just a Sigma knockoff. I wish he had a little bit more sauce when it came to the way he would magnetize things. I wish he could pull people towards him. I wish he could push people back. I just wish there was a little bit more than just like, I make bubble and I make shield. That's not magnetism to me. That's not what Magneto does. Magneto does so much more cool stuff than what he's represented as in this game. However, there's a reason he's not the worst designed character. I think the worst designed character has got to be the Punisher. The Punisher in the comics is way more in your face, kicking people's ass, shooting people down, but at the same time, he had to be toned up a bit because, come on, you're keeping up with like gods. You can't just bring a gun to a god battle. So he just ended up being relegated as like the Soldier 76 of this game. But I feel like if this is people's introduction to the Punisher, you don't get any of his essence at all in this version of the character. Especially with his main ability where he becomes like a turret like Bastion. That's not the Punisher. What are we doing, Marvel Rivals? I understand that they needed a character like this in this game, but using the Punisher specifically is just so underwhelming in my opinion. This guy could have easily just been War Machine for all I cared. And last but not least, we have Concord. Concord had a lot of good choices to pick from because they're all kind of a mess. This honorable mention has got to go to Lennox. Lennox just looks so bad. Like his humanoid face with his weird skin and the fact that he wants to f a spaceship. Just a strange dude. And if you just looked at him, you would have no idea that he's the Cassidy of this game. Like that guy's the sharpshooter guy, like okay. But I think the actual worst designed character in Concord has to be Daw. First of all, the name D-A-W, Daw, that's a bad name. Secondly, if you were to look at this character, just look at him. What does this character do? Nope. This character is a full-on support healer. How was I supposed to know that? I think it's really strange to design characters with absolutely no clear indication of what they do just from a picture. From a picture, you should be able to get some vibe of what they do. This is not it. On top of that, Daw just like looks so goofy. He's just so round. Like you can have bigger people in games. Shout out my boy Gibby, shout out my boy Roadhog, but Daw's like roundness just feels cartoonish in a game that is trying to be a little bit more realistic. You can have bigger characters without making them look like balloons like Violet and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But then you look at like the color theory, this entire color outfit just clashes so much. They could have just given Daw a lab coat or something and that would have been enough. Or maybe like a surgical mask, something like that to indicate that this is a healer, but there's literally nothing. Daw is a dumb name. You can't convince me otherwise. So those were, in my opinion, the worst designed characters in every single hero shooter. It was not easy at all for me to choose these characters. I don't like being negative. I just want to give all these characters a little hug, you know? But what do you think? Do you agree with my decisions? Do you disagree? Which character would you pick as the worst designed character in your favorite hero shooter? I genuinely would love to hear about it, so let me know in the comments down below. But with that, I'll catch you later. I don't wanna be the bad guy. I just want these games to thrive. I don't wanna be the bad guy. I just want these games to thrive.